But like I said, you know, a sketchbook is a sketchbook. The clue's in the name, sketchbook. A book for sketches maybe? Or am I overthinking that? I don't know. Hi everyone, sketchbook review for you this time, but it's not just any old sketchbook review. This is a sketchbook that's quite unusual, not just because it's got my name on it. I didn't ask for that, by the way. The company put that on when they sent the sketchbook out for me, which is a nice touch. Now the company contacted me a short while ago and they asked me could they send me one of their sketchbooks to try. It's made from stone. And I thought, made from stone? And they explained to me that all the paper in this sketchbook is made from stone. Not paper or wood pulp or cotton or anything like that, actually made from stone. So I thought, well, that does sound interesting, got to try that. So they sent me the sketchbook, and as you can see they put my name on it, and I think you can personalise yours if you buy from them. The company's called Etched, and I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. And just for transparency, if you do buy through that link, I don't get any kickbacks from that, any commission or anything. Not sponsored, not paid, not getting anything for doing this review at all, apart from a nice sketchbook and a pen that they sent me out to review. So the pen that they sent is a really nice all metal body actually, ballpoint pen with the company name written on there. It's really nice. I've used it a few times, wasn't expecting that, but yeah, thanks very much. So the sketchbook then, as you can see, it's an A5 sized sketchbook. It's kind of travel journal style. We've got the securing elastic there, but we haven't actually got any bellows pocket in the back, but we have got, as you can see there, the page ribbon in there, the dividing ribbon. And the sketchbook itself is, I would say this is kind of washable, wipeable cover. Sort of a, I don't know if you can kind of see the texture there. It's kind of a canvas look, but it's kind of got a bit of gloss to it, like you could wipe it, like it's been finished with something. Some clear lacquer or something. It's really nice actually. And the first thing you'll notice actually about the sketchbook is as soon as you get it and you pick it up, it weighs a bomb. And I thought, wow, that's obviously, you know, the stone paper. I mean, when you think about it, all of that in there, the paper all compressed together, is actually stone, and it kind of weighs like a small slab. It's really quite heavy actually compared to other sketchbooks. I'll just give you a quick rundown of the specs of this. So it's A5 blank paper. You can get lined paper if you want to use it as a notebook as well. It has 96 pages and the paper weight is 240 grams, 240 GSM. I'll come back to that in just a minute. Now I haven't tested this, but they claim that the paper won't buckle or warp when it gets wet. It's waterproof, it's tear resistant, it lays flat when you open it, which it pretty much does apart from the first couple of pages there, but as soon as you start getting into the main part of the sketchbook, it does pretty much lay flat, so that's okay. And the company also claim, and again I haven't tested this yet, we're going to be putting all of this through its test tonight, but the company claims that there's no ink bleed through with this, and there's a choice of colours as well, for which colour cover you want. And just going back to the 240 gram GSM, you might think, wow, that sounds nice thick paper, you know, for a sketchbook. Well actually it's a bit kind of deceiving, because, well, not deceiving, it's kind of a little bit confusing actually, because you've got to remember this paper is made from stone. So how they measure the paper, how they sort of get the weight of the paper is they measure the roll or the ream of the paper, and that's how we get the 240 GSM weight there. Now I compared this to my Sea White travel journal. The paper in my Sea White travel journal is 130 GSM, so it's kind of a bit less than half the weight of this, but the paper in the Sea White journal is actually thicker than this. This paper is actually quite thin, considering it's a 240 GSM paper. So it's obviously, you know, the fact that it's made of stone, the paper weighs a lot more than your regular wood pulp papers or cartridge papers or anything like that. And I did actually weigh the sketchbooks just to see the weight difference, just so I can let you know just how heavy this is. So my Sea White sketchbook, again, which is an A5 kind of travel journal style, it has 128 pages in it, and like I say, the pages are 130 grams, 130 GSM, and that actually weighed 3/4 pound, or approximately 45 grams. So it's probably going to be, you know, that's just kind of an average for your average sort of cartridge paper travel journal A5 sized sketchbook. Now, the stone paper sketchbook, that actually weighs 1.25 pounds, or 600 grams approximately. So it's quite a lot heavier, you know, than your average A5 sketchbook. Now this is obviously, you know, a very sort of eco-friendly sketchbook, because it's made from 100% recycled stone. No trees are cut down, no bleaches or acids are used, and very strangely there's no water used, and there is no waste produced at all from making these sketchbooks, which I think is fantastic. So the composition of the paper is actually made from 85% limestone and 15% recyclable resin. So I like the idea of that. You know, there's no waste involved, no trees cut down. It's a very, very well made sketchbook. It really is. Nice hardcover on there. And the paper is very, very smooth. I mean, if I hold this up to the camera to show you the texture, there's no real point, because there isn't any. It's very, very smooth. Silky smooth paper. It just says etched stone paper on the back there. Now, I haven't done any drawing or well, I'm not going to do any painting in it because it's waterproof, so I'm not going to do any watercolours in it. I don't think they'd work too well. It's obviously designed for pencil or ink work, that kind of thing. I'm going to do a little bit of drawing in it in just a short while. But before I do, there's one thing I want to mention actually. I contacted the company about the archival qualities of the paper. Obviously, being stone paper, you know, I've never used it before, I don't really know anything about it, so I asked the company, and apparently the paper, if you expose it to UV light for several months, it will start to deteriorate, but kept in a sketchbook, it's absolutely fine. So maybe, you know, this isn't the sort of paper that you're going to buy in loose leaves, do your artwork on it, put them in a frame and hang it on the wall, because like I say, the paper's going to deteriorate very quickly in sunlight. So all of your drawings, all of your artwork is best left kept in the sketchbook. I mean, occasionally if I do a really nice drawing in a sketchbook, I like to cut it out, put it in a frame, hang it on the wall. Obviously, you know, again, you can't do that with this. You know, let's just remember as well, it's a sketchbook. You know, it's not, like I say, you know, expensive loose leaf sheets of paper to do your best artwork on, to hang in frames for hundreds of years and that kind of thing. It's a sketchbook to keep your sketches in. So with all that said, I think we ought to do a little bit of sketching and put this to the test. So I decided to do something fairly simple. So I chose this hummingbird in flight and a nice simple graphite background. Now the graphite powder went down really well, really easily, but the paper didn't hold too much of it because obviously there's not much texture on the paper, so I couldn't really get the graphite as dark as I wanted. Erasing, no problem at all, as you'd expect on a smooth paper. You know, the graphite erases really easily and really cleanly, no problem at all there. Now I decided to use a little bit of black ink for the eye on the bird, and as you can see I'm going over it several times because what I want to do is to actually test to see if I get any ink bleed through coming through on the other side of the paper. Blending, not a problem. Graphite blends really well on this paper, Didn't have any problems with that at all. Now when it came to the pencil work, I found that I had to use a fairly light pressure because the paper did emboss a little bit. You know, if I was using mechanical pencils which are fairly sharp, and if I put a little bit too much pressure on them, they did tend to emboss the paper a little bit. So you have to kind of think about the way you do things a little bit more when you're working on this paper. You know, instead of pressing a little bit harder with a lighter pencil, you have to change that lighter pencil to a softer pencil, a darker pencil, and just press a bit lighter with it to get the tones that you need. But apart from that, it takes graphite lovely, and it was a joy to work on. Now, what you're seeing here is actually fixative that I sprayed on the back page of the sketchbook, just as a test to see what it actually done. As I mentioned earlier, the paper doesn't buckle at all, but the trouble is, because it's waterproof, the fixative wouldn't soak in. I left it for 5 minutes, and as you can see there, it's starting to dry out, but we've still got quite a bit of it on the paper. So I decided to use a hairdryer, dry it off quickly, see what effect that had, see if it damaged the paper or there was any problems with it like that at all. Everything seemed fine, so I decided to spray the drawing that I'd just done. The graphite, well, not the graphite, the fixative did bead up a little bit, but that's normal because it's sitting on top of graphite. But then again, it's still not going to soak into the paper, so I had to use the hairdryer to dry the fixative off and hope that it had, you know, stuck to the paper well enough that it wouldn't flake off. I did notice a couple of blotches which weren't there before. That's obviously where the fixative has kind of beaded up a little bit on the paper, and it may have affected the graphite underneath. So I think if you're going to use fixative, you have to be quick with the hairdryer. Now, I did actually talk to the manufacturers about this. Can I use fixative on this paper? And they said they'd tried it with, I can't remember the name of the brand now, but it was an aerosol fixative, a strong solvent-based one. And they found that the fixative, once it had dried on the paper, actually flaked off. Now, the fixative that I've used is Spectrafix, which is basically a water-based fixative with a little bit of alcohol and casein in there. Obviously, again, that's not going to soak into the paper because, you know, the paper's waterproof, but it might form a skin on top of the graphite and it might stick to the paper well enough. Only time will tell. I haven't noticed any problems with it yet, but if you're using any other fixative, obviously I can't guarantee that, but so far so good when I use Spectrafix. Now, something else I noticed was the tape really stuck well to the stone paper. It was quite difficult to get off, but surprisingly it didn't tear any of the surface up as I was pulling the tape up. The paper didn't rip at all. It's tear-proof paper, isn't it? You know, it's not going to rip. It's very strong stuff. So, the conclusion then. Well, I really enjoyed working on this paper. I've got to be honest, it was a joy to work on. Apart from the fact, you know, it did emboss a little bit. I can show you that on the back actually. But once I'd got used to the amount of pressure I can apply on this paper, it was no problem really. You can just kind of see, look, some of the shadows there on the paper where the bird's beak was, and a little bit of the outline there where I pressed a little bit hard maybe. It's kind of followed through on the next sheet as well, but that's not a problem because I'm going to do some ink drawing on this and test this paper for ink. So yeah, it is really a lovely paper to work on. My only concern is, like I mentioned earlier, the archival qualities of this. You know, if you expose it to UV rays, the paper's going to start breaking down within sort of 8 or 12 months. But hopefully as time goes by, the manufacture of this paper will get better and better, and I'm sure they'll come up with some way of making this archival somehow. You know, and even though I've got a little bit of blotchiness on here, you know, it's like I say, it's just a sketch in a sketchbook, so it doesn't really matter. I think it's a fair trade-off actually for the amount of grain you can actually pick up on regular paper when you put in graphite powder backgrounds down. You know, you'll notice that this is lovely and smooth and soft, apart from, you know, just a little bit of blotchiness where well, it's probably my fault. I probably let the fixative just sit a bit too long there. So a good idea is, you know, once you've sprayed this very lightly with fixative, get the hairdryer on it immediately. Try not to let the fixative sit on the paper, because I think that's what's causing the problem. You know, the graphite might start kind of floating in there a little bit. And also as well, another tip, be careful using a hairdryer with fixative, even Spectrafix, because Spectrafix does contain a little bit of alcohol, even though it's mainly water-based. So don't give this a light spray and then instantly pick the hairdryer up and go straight over it, because there's going to be sort of clouds of fixative wafting around and it might be inflammable. You know, you don't want any accidents to happen. So spray this lightly in one room, quickly take it into another room and hairdry it quickly like that. And you should be okay, you know, to fix your drawings. And you do need to fix these drawings, even though they're just sketches. You know, with graphite powder, if I keep opening and closing this sketchbook as I'm working in it, this graphite powder is going to transfer on the opposite page there. It's going to smudge over onto the drawing. It's going to look ugly very quickly on, you know, on a smooth paper. So it's always best to fix graphite powder on any paper, really. So just going back to again to the archival properties of this. You know, like I say, if you keep your sketchbook closed, you know, you don't leave this open on your desk for 10 months or a year or something, I don't think anything's going to happen. But like I said, you know, a sketchbook is a sketchbook. The clue's in the name, sketchbook. A book for sketches maybe? Or am I overthinking that? I don't know. But you know what I mean. It's not like our best work is going to be done on this. You know, or it's going to be framed or anything like that. It's just a sketchbook for practicing little sketches, that kind of thing. So, you know, anything like these little blotches that happen when you fix it doesn't really matter. The fact that we can't cut one of these drawings out, put it in a frame, doesn't matter. You know, as long as you're using your sketchbook as a sketchbook, and that's all you need to do. Just enjoy it. It's lovely paper to work on. Yes, I wish it was archival. That would be just another added bonus, because it just about ticks all of the boxes. You know, there's no trees cut down, no water involved. It's all made from waste products. It's brilliant. I love all that. It'd just be nice if one day they could actually make this archival, you know, so we could buy loose leaves of this in larger sizes, because at the minute all I can find is A5 and A4 on the Etched website, you know, in these sketchbooks. So you're kind of limited to size and format as well. Like I say, you can't get loose leaves at the minute, you can only get sketchbooks. I'm looking forward to trying this with ink actually. I think it's going to be a really nice paper to work on with ink. My only concern about that is how long the ink takes to dry on a paper that's waterproof. So again, we'll have to do some more testing in a future video with this. Obviously I'll put it up on YouTube for you to see. So it's going to be kind of a long-term review really. I'll probably even review this again in a year's time just to see how the paper has stood up to being opened and exposed to light. You know, just to kind of test the archival qualities. I might even leave it on my windowsill with one of the pages open for months on end just to see what happens. But you know, with all that said, I actually really like this sketchbook. You know, I'm really looking forward to doing the next drawing, and that's saying something. You know, when you've got a really nice paper, a nice sketchbook to work in, you know, and you're looking forward to the next drawing, that really says something, I think. And I also think that this little sketchbook will make a lovely present for somebody, you know, because it's not just any sketchbook, is it? It's not just another sketchbook. You know, to give this to someone for a birthday present or a Christmas present, you know, a sketchbook made of stone, give that to one of your artist friends. You can almost guarantee that they've probably never used it before. They might have heard of it, I doubt it, but you know, it's a very novel gift, isn't it? It's a really nice present, I think, to give to, you know, one of your artist friends. And I think it's something that we should all try, just to say that yes, I've drawn on stone, drawn on some stone paper. And again, going back to the embossing or the indenting of the paper, you'd think that it wouldn't do that. I mean, the fact that it's tear resistant, you know, as I was peeling the tape up, none of the surface was lifting up. It's like bomb-proof paper. But it does emboss, so it's quite soft, but yet it's tough, very durable. And also, if you're interested, this sketch that I've done is a 3-part video series over on my Patreon channel. If you fancy drawing along with this, there's tons of other bird drawings over there as well. Sketchbook sketches, full on 30 to 50 hour long drawing projects, landscapes, that kind of thing, watercolours, all sorts. Have a quick look through my channel and you'll get an idea of the kind of work that I do, and you can decide if my Patreon channel is for you or not. It's only £3.50 a month to join. So there we go. I want to say a big thank you to Etched for sending this to me. I really do like it. It's certainly been interesting to work on. Stone paper, it's very unusual, but like I say, the surface is really, really nice to actually work on. I was surprised. So thanks very much, Etched. I really do appreciate that. I think you've got a great little product here. Okay, so thanks very much for watching, everyone. If this video was helpful to you or you enjoyed it, please give a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and share and all of that good stuff. And leave a comment. I always read your comments. Okay, so take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.